Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the session. So, I hope all of you are doing great and preparing really well for your upcoming MPPSC exam. Right. Okay. So, we're back again after the weekend. Chalo. So, let's get started with our session tonight. Let me start by sharing my screen with you all. Can you all see my screen? Yes, it's visible, right? Great. Welcome again. Welcome. Good evening to you all. I hope you all missed the sessions. Good evening, Lokesh. Good evening. Hi. Please like the session, everyone. Good evening, Rudra. Good evening, Lokesh. So it feels really good to be back. Now, let's get started with the questions tonight. Okay. Here's the first question for tonight. In the initial draft of the novel written in 1796-97, what was the original working title of Pride and Prejudice? Tell me. In the initial draft of the novel written in 1796-97, what was the original working title of the novel Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen? Very good. It is First Impressions. First Impressions was the original working title of Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice. Right? Yes. And this title was borrowed from Fanny Burney's Cecilia. This title was borrowed from Fanny Burney's Cecilia. Fanny Burney was a major novelist of the 18th century. Right? Yes, correct. Okay, next. I have been used to consider poetry as the food of love. Which character makes this statement, prompting Mr. Darcy to reply that poetry has a contrary, destructive effect on love? So, in Pride and Prejudice, who says that I have been used to consider poetry as the food of love? Who says this in Pride and Prejudice? I have been used to consider poetry as the food of love. It is Mr. Bingley. Mr. Bingley. All right. It is Mr. Bingley. Right. Next. Who among the following coined the term egotistical sublime to describe the poetry and persona of William Wordsworth? Who coined the phrase egotistical sublime? Tell me. Who coined the phrase egotistical sublime to talk about Wordsworth? To talk about Wordsworth. It is John Keats. John Keats coined the phrase egotistical sublime. John Keats coined the phrase egotistical sublime. Very good. John Keats. So you can see the names of these poets here, right? Who among them talked about willing suspension of disbelief? Who among the poets here talked about the willing suspension of disbelief? Tell me, who coined the phrase willing suspension of disbelief? It was Coleridge. Coleridge coined the phrase willing suspension of disbelief in Biographia Literaria, published in 1817. Published in 1817. All right. Okay. Next. In Thomas De Quincey's essay on the knocking at the gate in Macbeth, what dramatic emotion is stated to be awakened by the sudden knocking? So, Thomas De Quincey's critical essay on the knocking at the gate in Macbeth, it critiques the porter scene in Macbeth. It critiques the porter scene in Macbeth. Right. So, what dramatic emotion is stated to be awakened by the sudden knocking, at the gate in the porter scene in Macbeth? Thomas De Quincey's critical essay on the knocking at the gate in Macbeth, which critiques the porter scene of Macbeth, right? The rebound of human agency. The rebound of human agency. Do look it up once again after the session. Okay. C. Option C. Right. In the opening chapter of the novel, an astrologer from her native village, Hasnapur, predicts to which two tragic events for young Jyoti or Jasmine? This is a question from the novel Jasmine by Bharati Mukherjee. This is a question from the novel Jasmine by Bharati Mukherjee. In the opening chapter of the novel Jasmine, an astrologer from her native village of Hasnapur predicts which two tragic events for young Jyoti? That she will be widowed and exiled. That she will be widowed and exiled. All right? That she will be widowed and exiled. Next. What shape is the scar on Jasmine's forehead, which she acquires from a fall near the temple pond, and what does it come to symbolize? Again, a question from the novel Jasmine by Bharati Mukherjee. What shape is the scar on Jasmine's forehead, which she acquires from a fall near the temple pond, and what does it come to symbolize? A third eye, a third eye, symbolizing divine wisdom and destiny. So the shape of the scar is like a third eye, like third eye of Shiva. So it's like a third eye, symbolizing divine wisdom and destiny. Symbolizing divine wisdom and destiny. Like the third eye of Shiva, we all know, right? So the shape of the scar was like that. Okay. So if you are all planning to sit for the December net exam, then you can join our net course and prepare with us. The admissions are still going on. The students are still joining. All right. So if you want, you can join us now. Right. Who famously wrote the introductory preface to Mulk Raj Anand's debut novel Untouchable of 1935? Who famously wrote the introductory preface to Mulk Raj Anand's debut novel Untouchable, published in 1935? It is E.M. Foster. E.M. Foster wrote the introduction or the preface to Mulk Raj Anand's debut novel Untouchable, 1935. E.M. Foster. Yeah. Next. In Untouchable, which minor character attempts to introduce machine-based sanitation to eradicate caste-based oppression at the end of the novel? In Untouchable, which minor character attempts to introduce machine-based sanitation, to eradicate caste-based oppression at the end of the novel. Who was it who was trying to introduce machine-based sanitation, cleaning? It was the poet Iqbal Nath Sarsha. The poet, the poet Iqbal Nath Shersha or Sarsha. It was the poet. The poet. Please look up these things well. Okay, many of you are answering wrong. It is the poet Iqbal Nath Shersha or Sharsha. It was the poet. Right. Who authored the renowned critical essay of dramatic poesy of 1688, and which specific classical author is upheld in the text as the father of our English poesy? So, who wrote an essay of dramatic poesy, and in there, who is hailed as the father of our English poesy? Yeah, an essay of dramatic poesy, 1668. It's by Dryden. And there, Shakespeare is hailed as the father of our English poesy. Yes, Dryden and Shakespeare. Shakespeare was hailed as the father of our English poesy. Right. Next. Which among the following Restoration comedies is notable for containing the famous character Sir Fopling Flutter, who represents the epitome of the French influenced pop? Very easy question. Which among the following Restoration comedies is notable for containing the famous character Sir Fopling Flutter, representing the epitome of the French influenced pop? It is The Man of Maud by Sir George Etheredge. This very play is subtitled what? What is the full title of this play? The Man of Maud or Sir Fopling Flutter. The Man of Maud or Sir Fopling Flutter by George Etheredge. It's a major restoration comedy. Yeah, option C is right. The Man of Maud by Sir George Etheredge. Because recall the full title, The Man of Maud or Sir Fopling Flutter. Right? Okay. Next. In W.B. Yeats's philosophical system, how does the spiritus mundi relate to the vision of the beast in the second coming? In W.B. Yeats's philosophical system, how does the spiritus mundi relate to the vision of the beast in the poem The Second Coming? Easy. It is what? What is spiritus mundi? According to Yeats, it is a collective repository of universal images and memories from which the poet's mind draws the apocalyptic vision. B is right. It is a collective repository of universal images and memories from which the poet's mind draws the apocalyptic vision. Correct. Okay, next. What specific historical and biographical context of 1919 deeply influenced Yeats's creation of the poem's apocalyptic imagery? So, which poem? The Second Coming. Right. So, what specific historical and biographical context of 1919 deeply influenced Yeats's creation of the Second Coming's apocalyptic imagery. Which historical and biographical events or incidents were responsible for Yeats's creation of the Second Coming's apocalyptic imagery? Yes, the devastation of World War I, the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, and the Irish War of Independence. The moment you see this, the Irish War of Independence, that's a big giveaway. So all these historical and social and political events were collectively responsible for this apocalyptic imagery as we see in the poem The Second Coming. The devastation of World War I, the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, and the Irish War of Independence. Right? Okay. In the opening lines of the poem, it little profits that an idle king by this still hearth among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife. I met and dole unequal laws unto a savage race. What does the phrase unequal laws primarily imply? So it's the opening line of the dramatic monologue Ulysses by Tennyson. So here, what do you mean by unequal laws? What do you mean by unequal laws? What do you mean by unequal laws? This is from the opening line of the dramatic monologue Ulysses by Tennyson. Right. It means that the subjects of Ulysses are barbaric and cannot comprehend equal justice. It is option B. Okay. Right. So that's all from our side for tonight. I really hope you guys liked the session and enjoyed answering these questions. So I will be back again tomorrow with more questions from the syllabus of MPPSC. Okay, and do like the session, please. And tomorrow I will try to bring some more questions for you from the prescribed texts of MPPSC, right? From the syllabus of MPPSC. And I hope these sessions are helping you all. Yes, right. Okay, then. So please do like the session. And I will see you all again tomorrow at 9:30. All right. So bye.